I Was Cured of Psychopathy, Part 1. Some people say you can spot a psychopath in childhood. In my case, that's pretty accurate. When I was 8, I strangled a neighbor's cat behind a shed. I remember watching it carefully, timing how long it took. Not out of anger, just curiosity. Everyone else cried when they found it, but I was just confused. I remember wondering why they were crying. As I got older, things escalated. Bullying, fights, breaking things around the house just to see how people reacted. Then breaking people. The first time I killed someone, hearing the sound of their neck snap wasn't repulsive, only satisfying, like bending a twig until it gave out. I waited for the guilt everyone always talks about, but it never came. Same thing the second time. And the third. Find out what happens next in Part 2. At my trial, the victims' families cried and wailed as they described what I had done and all I had taken away. The courtroom was full of shaking voices, red faces, and broken parents. I just watched them the same way I'd watched that cat, with curiosity. The judge called it evil. The psychiatrist called it psychopathy, a label for people like me. I was an outcast, an alien, bad news for the human race. They said I lacked empathy and emotional depth, a missing piece of the brain most people are born with, and so my fate was sealed. Death row was a quiet place, mostly just boredom and waiting for the end. Find out what happens next in Part 3. But then one day, a group of doctors came to my cell with an offer. An experimental procedure, a neurological treatment designed to restore emotional empathy in psychopaths. 1 in 10 patients respond, the lead doctor explained. If it works, you'll feel things you've never felt before. Like what? I asked. Guilt, remorse, empathy. But be warned, it'll hit you hard, and once it does, you won't be able to go back. I agreed immediately, not because I wanted to change, but because death row was just so damn boring. Find out what happens next in Part 4. When I woke up, everything felt wrong. It wasn't just the splitting headache. I felt a weight in my chest, a pit in my stomach I couldn't fully describe. My hands shook even when I sat still. Then the memories came back. First the cat. It had been decades, but that was the first time its cries truly haunted me. I gasped for air as I remembered what I had done. I felt a tightness in my neck, suffocating me as if I was the poor defenseless creature having the life squeezed out of it. Find out what happens next in Part 5. The murders. They looked different now. For the first time, I saw the fear in their eyes and felt the despair of their powerlessness. I heard the families crying again in that courtroom. Only this time, it stung. The regret hit me like a physical blow. Tears poured down my face as I shook uncontrollably, wishing I could rewind time, wishing I could undo what I'd done. I wouldn't wish that feeling on my worst enemy. Find out what happens next in Part 6. People think killers are monsters, but we're not. We're broken humans, missing something in our brains. If I'd had these feelings when I was younger, my life would have been completely different. I would have understood why people cry, why loss hurts, why fear matters. I would have spent my time helping people instead of destroying them, protecting people instead of hunting them. Maybe I could have saved lives instead of taking them. Find out what happens next in Part 7. As you can see, the procedure changed everything for me. Because after I woke up, remorse finally made sense. And once it clicks, it becomes surprisingly easy to get the tone right. So I really am grateful you decided to give me a second chance today. Now, officer, won't you take off these handcuffs? I promise I won't hurt anyone again. Follow for more horror stories.